In this class, we are going to look thread group and listeners in detail. And as you know, in our previous class, in class 3, we have recorded a scenario of booking an advert in our application BNB. So I will just open up the same test plan which I saved after completing class 3. So I saved this and it already recorded my scenario here, and this is the advert booking scenario. So first thing we notice that it is capturing useless request on behalf of each advert coming in the search page. So this is the sale advert ID, and it is, somehow the structure is of our application is written in a way that it it requests to the server, or requests are coming back to the client on behalf of each of the advert appearing on the search screen. So because in search screen, as we know that when we searched our criteria for booking an advert, it gave us multiple adverts. So on those, on behalf of those multiple adverts, it is creating the multiple requests. This is not an ideal scenario, this is not an ideal implementation. It should not do that, but that's the key here. That's what we need to find out. So this is the one thing which I observe, which should not be the case for the better performance of an application, but this is happening. And we selected only one advert out of those 10, 15 adverts. And once we do that, we add it to the cart. So as you can see, the request of add to cart is logged here after processing lot of useless requests. So but the domain is our application, so we will not delete it, we will use them as well in our performance test. So performance test is related to the thread group. So once we click the thread group here, we will see these kind of parameters, or you can say properties, which are very important. So in my, even in my article of performance testing, if I open my article, you can see uh, I have explained what thread group is. Basically it is a way to simulate actual users. So we are simulating a test case where we need to know how our application behaves if multiple users are accessing or using our application and performing the test case, and in particular time. So as you can see, this is a thread group which is simulating multiple users, and multiple users are sending requests to the server for the same test case. So you can read the detail here, but these are the three important parameters. So number one is number of threads, how many number of users we want it to simulate. So for example, I write here 20. So uh, I want it to, simulate 20 real time users booking the advert. But what would be the ramp up period? So ramp up period is the period which will be required for those number of users to up and running. So for example, I give here 60 seconds. So it means I'm telling my JMeter to ramp up 20 users within 60 seconds. So if I use calculator, and if I divide 60 seconds to number of users, so this is the value. So it means after every 3 seconds, or you can say in 3 seconds, one uh, one user will be up and running the scenario for us. So after each 3 seconds, it will execute another user, and after 6 seconds it will add up the third user, then after 9 seconds it will add up fourth user, so on and so forth. So within 60 seconds it will simulate complete 20 users on our website, and all 20 user will be, what they will be doing, they will be booking an advert. So, and it could be a possibility that advert capacity or limit of our advert is, for example, 10, but we are booking 20 users, so the room will not be available for rest of the 10 users. So it could happen, it will give us the result, it will give whatever result it will get, but no matter. But what we can do is we can just execute the scenario and see the result. So now in order to see the result we need listeners, but before going towards listeners we can discuss about other fields. So for example, loop count, so how many loop counts I want it to run. So for example, it will become my test will be completed in 60 seconds, it will execute 20 users within those 60 seconds, but I want this loop to occur 5 times, for example. So I will write 5 here. So what it will do, it will run for 5 minutes, and in each minute it will execute 20 users, so overall it will execute 100 users. But I don't want that, so I will write 1. I can do it infinite as well, but there is no need. I think one is enough, one loop is enough. Same users on each iteration, yeah, okay. Specific thread lifetime, so I can define the life of the thread as well. So if I do it, for example, 5 time, here I mention it 5, then I specify a time. So what it will do, it will run just for 120 second, for example, if I write 120. So what it will do, it will run it and end in 50 seconds. So let's say here I have 5. So now what it will do, it will try another loop for another minute, and then for the third loop my duration will be ended, so it will end the test and will run for 2 loops. But currently I will keep it 1. My duration will be, even I uncheck this, so it doesn't matter. And let's keep it for 10 users, and let's keep it for 30 seconds. So that's it, just to show, so that it can complete quickly and we quickly see the results. Now this area is asking me that whether the test should continue or it should stop the thread or stop the overall test, or once it gets the error. So for example, in any of the request, from these all requests, if for example we get error in any of the request, the thread will stop if I select stop thread, but I will keep it continue because I need to know what are the results for all the requests. So how many errors we are getting out of those 10 users, or within those 10 users how many users are getting errors in in how many requests, because for each user we have multiple requests, right? So the error can come in any request within any user. So I will keep it continue. Now after setting up the thread group, since we have set up the thread group, now we can add listeners. So the second important thing is listener to add. So now in listener, within listener you can see a lot of reports. These all you can explore, but the most commonly used reports are 2 or 3 of them, so we will use those. So we will use result tree, then we will add one more listener, aggregate report. This is very important. And the third one we can use graph result. So these 3 we will use for now. So we have result tree, aggregate report, and then we have graph result. So once we do that, we add that listeners now, because in thread group what we have done, we have provided our user load. In test we have the requests, our test scenario, but how we can see the results is based on the listeners. So these are the listeners, help of which we will see our results from. So let's now execute the test and see. So if I execute the test now, as you can see, now I have executed the test. So it has started logging the results for me. So as you can see here, it is logging the results, and in aggregate report it is also logging me the results. So I it will take 30 seconds, I believe. So it has put the load of 10 users to my scenario, and it overall put 30 seconds to complete it. And that's my loop count, that's my ramp up period. And now it took 30 seconds to overall complete the load of 10 users. But now, since those 10 users are implementing the test case or booking the advert on my website, so it's keep on going, right? It keeps on going because it is taking time to complete the overall scenario. And of course we have pauses, we have search criteria given, and we are performing search, adding the item into the cart. So test is taking more than 30 seconds, and that 30-second time which was given here is just for the ramp up period. So that's why you can see the test is still running, but the load is of 10 user is completely applied within 30 seconds. And now 10 users, all 10 users are completing their test case. So as you can see here, now I am getting some errors as well. So for some of the users. So let's see. So now my test is completed. As you can see, the start button is enabled again. So my test is completed within 2 minutes and 35 seconds for all the 10 users. And as you can see, I got some errors as well. So that's how I record my test and record the results.